The freighter, starward bound, was 2 days out from the Cygnus 7 trading post when the distress call shattered the routine quiet of its bridge. It was a shrill, automated pulse, a guild-mandated beacon screaming of catastrophic hull failure on a small civilian vessel. The freighter's captain, a man of pragmatic solitude, altered course without a second thought. It was the law, but more than that, it was the way. His ship was a workhorse, not a yacht. The captain himself was built along similar lines, stocky, with hands that knew machinery and eyes that had seen the long, lonely stretches between stars. He lived with the hum of the fusion drive and the company of his own thoughts. He preferred it that way. The source of the beacon was a sleek, alien courier, its hull torn open by what looked like micrometeorite scarring. It tumbled slowly, a silent monument to disaster. As the freighter matched its spin, the captain's scanners detected one fading life sign deep within the wreck, and 2 more, much fainter, in an intact compartment near the severed stern. He suited up alone. His first mate was a competent program, not a person. The airlock cycled open, and he pushed off into the void, the only sounds his own breathing and the mechanical sigh of his thrusters. Boarding the derelict was a study in grim physics. The captain moved through carcasses of corridors, his suit lights painting stark shadows on walls frozen in vacuum. He found the first life sign in the cockpit. The pilot, a willowy being with iridescent skin, was strapped into a command couch, suit breeched. The captain placed a gloved hand on his slender shoulder for a moment, a useless gesture, then moved on. The 2 faint signals led him aft. A pressure door, sealed tight by emergency systems, barred his way. His plasma cutter flared in the darkness. When the seal broke, atmosphere rushed out in a final frozen gasp, carrying with it fluttering bits of delicate, colorful fabric dot. The compartment was a living quarters, small and opulently furnished in alien style, and in the center, tangled in a net of webbing that had clearly deployed to protect them, were 2 children. They were small, with the same iridescent skin as the pilot, but softer, their large, dark eyes wide with a terror that was beyond screaming. The older one, barely the size of a human 5-year-old, held the smaller one close. Their fragile limbs trembled. The environmental system was dead. Their own tiny suits, decorative and inadequate, were failing. Frost glittered at the edges of their large eyes. The captain's gums crackled. His first mate's synthesized voice was calm. Structural collapse is accelerating. Probability of total hull disintegration within 20 minutes. There was no time for gentleness, no time for soothing alien words. He moved with a decisive urgency. He detached the portable life support unit from his own suit, a risky move that left him on his suit's primary tank only. He sealed its flexible bubble around the 2 young ones, saw the oxygen mix stabilize. He gathered the bundle into his arms. The older child flinched, but the younger one simply stared at him, a profound, silent shock in its gaze. The journey back was a battle. Conduits burst around him. Hull plates groaned and shrieked as the dying ship twisted in its final throes. A support beam snapped, blocking his primary path. He diverted, his thrusters flaring. A piece of debris, sharp and spinning, clipped his leg. A warning light flashed on his visor. A minor suit breach. Not immediately lethal, but a steady drain. He clutched the life support bubble tighter. He could see the freighter's airlock, an open mouth of light. 20 meters. 10. With a final push, he crossed the gap. The airlock door closed behind him, just as a brilliant, silent explosion washed over the outer cameras. The alien courier was gone. On his own ship, in the bright light of the infirmary, the bubble was opened. The 2 aliens huddled together on a med bed, their shivering now visible. The captain, his own suit removed and a bandage on his leg, moved slowly. He brought warm blankets, not of their culture, but simple thermal foil. He offered a hydration bulb, demonstrating its use on himself first. The older child watched him with a cautious, intelligent fear. The younger one just stared. Over the next hours, a quiet understanding bloomed. The captain spoke in low, steady tones, explaining nothing they could understand, but the sound itself seemed to calm them. He found a nutrient paste compatible with their biology. He did not try to touch them, only to provide. He sat on a stool nearby, working on a damaged servo from an engine room relay, his presence a quiet, solid fact. The older child was the first to approach. It pointed a delicate finger at the spinning gears of the servo. The captain slowed his work, showing the piece. A tiny, three-fingered hand reached out, touched the metal, then drew back. It was a start. The guild was notified. The children were listed as survivors of the Khaledian Swift, a vessel from a species known as the Illuminated. The response was immediate and specific. Next of kin had been alerted. A ship was coming. It arrived in a shimmer of displaced light, a vessel of breathtaking elegance, all flowing lines and soft luminescence. It dwarfed the freighter. A request for direct docking was sent and granted. The captain stood in his modest airlock chamber as the seal was made. The children were beside him, the younger one now holding the edge of his warm jumpsuit. The door opened. She stood there, framed in the graceful arch of her own ship's portal. She was tall, her form slender and powerful, her skin a cascade of mother-of-pearl hues that shifted with her breath. Her eyes, the same dark pools as her children's, were fixed not on them, but on the human. They held galaxies of grief, and a ferocity that made the captain stand straighter. The children made soft, chiming sounds and rushed to her. She knelt, gathering them in, her long arms enveloping them. She closed her eyes, her forehead touching theirs. A low, melodic hum filled the space, a sound of profound reunion and sorrow. Then she rose, her children clinging to her. She looked again at the captain. Her gaze swept over his stocky frame, his bandaged leg, his plain face. She spoke. Her voice was translated by a pendant on her chest, the words clear, formal, and layered with unnameable emotion. You retrieved them from the void. My mate is gone. You brought our most precious fragments back to me. The scanner logs of your ship show the conditions of the rescue. You risked termination for them. You diminished your own safety for their unknown lives. The captain nodded once. It was necessary. To you, perhaps, the translated voice replied. To my people, it is more. It is the absolute sacrifice, the deliberate courting of personal annihilation for the young of another. It is the highest gesture. It forges a bond. The captain shifted, uneasy. There's no bond required. They're safe. That's what matters. She stepped forward, across the threshold from her world into his. The air seemed to change. You misunderstand. It is not a debt. It is a ... reorientation. My children's lives are now woven with the thread of your courage. Their story includes your hands pulling them from the cold. For me, their mother, the weaver of that story, I now look at you and see not a stranger, but the shape of their salvation. That shape has meaning. She was close now. He could see the fine patterns on her skin, like starlight on water. Her scent was of ozone, and something like amber. My mate's song has ended. The future was a silent place. Now I look at you, and I hear a new rhythm, a different melody. It is strong. It is honest. The captain felt the hull plates of his solitary life buckling under a pressure he did not know how to name. I'm just a freighter captain. This is all I have. He gestured to the dull metal walls. She followed his gesture, then looked back at him, her head tilted. You have a ship that answers calls. You have hands that repair. and rescue. You have a heart that does not calculate the value of lives before saving them. This is not just anything. This is the foundation. The younger child, still holding her, chirped and looked at the captain. It reached out a small hand toward him. The action was simple, trusting. The mother's eyes deepened. They already know. Their hearts are not clouded by complication. They see the protector. She took another step. The space between them was negligible. I am not asking for a conclusion. I am stating a beginning. My name is Kalen. My children are with me. Can I wish to know the name of the one who endangered his life for them? I wish to learn his melody. I wish to see if our songs can harmonize. The captain stood very still. The constant, familiar hum of his ship was still there. But underneath it, he felt the resonant, gentle thrum of her vessel docked to his. Two different worlds pressed together at an airlock. He looked at her fierce, grieving, hopeful face. He looked at the children, safe in the circle of her presence. One still reaching out. He had faced vacuum and tearing metal without fear. This felt infinitely more dangerous. This was the end of the silence. He let out a long, slow breath. He met her galactic eyes. "My name," he said, and the word, his own name, sounded new on his tongue, "is Eli." A smile touched her lips, a subtle shift of light. "Eli," she repeated, and the translation pendant made it a soft sigh. "Will you show us your ship? We have time before the journey must continue." Eli, the freighter captain, nodded. He turned, and with the alien mother and her children following, he led them from the airlock, away from the void, and into the humming, waiting heart of his home.